Good day everyone, my name is Eugene Pabol. I will be your instructor for Information Assurance and Security. The subject code for Information Technology is ITS 309 and CSC 309 for the Computer Science. Let me introduce to you the learning objectives of our lesson. First, you are going to explain information system security and its effect on people and businesses. Next, describe how unauthorized access can lead to a data breach. Relate how availability, integrity, and confidentiality requirements affect the 7 domains of a typical IT infrastructure. Describe the risks, threats, and vulnerabilities commonly found within the 7 domains. Identify a layered approach throughout the 7 domains. Develop an IT security policy framework to help reduce risk from common threats and vulnerabilities. And relate how a data classification standard affects the 7 domains. And here are some key concepts. Information system security concepts, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the 7 domains of an IT infrastructure, the weakest link in the IT security of an IT infrastructure, the IT security policy framework, and data classification standard. The Internet has changed dramatically from its origins. It has grown from a tool used by a small number of universities and government agencies to a worldwide network with more than 3 billion users. As it has grown, it has changed the way people communicate and do business, bringing many opportunities and benefits. Today, the Internet continues to grow and expand in a new and varied ways. It supports innovation and new services such as the IP mobility and smartphone connectivity. When the Internet started, the majority of connected devices were solely computers, whether for personal use or within a company. In that most recent years, however, an increasing variety of devices beyond computers, including smartphones, smart cars, appliances, vending machines, smart homes, and smart buildings can connect and share data. The Internet as we know it today is expanding rapidly as the Internet of Things takes over and impacts our day-to-day lives. Although the Internet officially started back in 1969, the extent to which people depend on the Internet is new. Today, people interact with the Internet and cyberspace as part of normal day-to-day living. This includes personal use and business use. Users must now address issues of privacy data security and business data security. Security threats can come from either personal or business use. Intelligent and aggressive cyber criminals, terrorists, and scam artists lurk in the shadows. So connecting your computers or devices to the Internet immediately exposes them to attack. Okay? So connecting your computers or devices to the Internet immediately exposes them to attack. These attacks result in frustration and hardship. So anyone whose personal information has been stolen can attest to that. Worse attacks on computers and network devices are a threat to the national economy, which depends on e-commerce. Even more important, cyber attacks threaten national security. For example, terrorist attackers shut down electricity grids and disrupt military communications. So you can make a difference. Now, the world needs people who understands computer security and who can protect computers and networks from criminals and terrorists. Remember, it's all about securing your sensitive data. If you have sensitive data, you must protect it. To get you started, so this course gives you an overview of information system security concepts and terms that you must understand to stop cyber attacks. This chapter introduces the dangers of cyberspace and discusses how to address those dangers. It explains how to identify and combat the dangers common in information systems and IT infrastructures. To understand how to make computers more secure, you first need to understand the concepts of risks, threats, and vulnerabilities. Risks. Risk is the likelihood that something bad will happen to an asset. It is the level of exposure to some event that has an effect. It is the level of exposure to some event that has an effect on an asset. In the context of IT security, an asset can be a computer, a database, or a piece of information. Examples of risk include the following. It can be losing of data, losing of business because a disaster has destroyed your building, and failing to comply with laws and organizations. Or it might be a business disruption, a financial loss, loss of privacy, damage to reputation, loss of confidence, legal penalties, impaired growth. It can be a loss of life. Now, what are threats or threat? By definition, a threat is in any action that could damage an asset. So, could damage an asset. Information systems face both natural and human-induced threats. Because the information that we are talking about is not just information that you know. No? It can be the storage of your... So the threats of flood, earthquake, or severe storms require organizations to create plans to ensure that business operations continues and that the organization can recover. So we have the so-called business continuity plan. So an organization must have that. No? It gives priorities to the functions of an organization needs to keep going. And we have also a disaster recovery plan. It defines how a business gets back on its feet after a major disaster, such as fire or hurricane. So for threats, we have also the so-called human-caused threats. So what do you think are the human-caused threats? Human-caused threats to a computer system includes viruses, malicious code, and unauthorized access. A virus, it is a computer program written to cause damage to a system or an application or the data. The malicious code, or the so-called malware, it is a computer program written to cause a specific action to occur, such as erasing a hard drive, modifying the content of your hard drive, modifying the content of your files, or it can be wiping out the content of the hard drive. So these threats can harm an individual, business, or organization. Vulnerability. It is a weakness that allows a threat to be realized or to have an effect on an asset. Now, to understand what a vulnerability is, think about lighting a fire. Now, you are lighting a fire, example. Lighting a fire is not necessarily bad. It's not bad. But if you are cooking a meal on a grill, you will need to light a fire in the grill. So the grill is designed to contain the fire and should pose no danger if used properly. On the other hand, lighting a fire in a computer data center will likely cause damage. Diba? A grill is not vulnerable to fire, but a computer data center is. So a threat by itself does not always cause damage. There must be a vulnerability for a threat to be realized. Vulnerabilities can often result in legal liabilities. Any vulnerability that allows a threat to be realized may result in legal action. Since computers must run software to be useful, and since humans write software programs inevitably contain errors. Thus, software vendors must protect themselves from the liabilities of their own vulnerabilities with an end-user license agreement. What is end-user license agreement? A EULA or end-user license agreement takes effect when the user opens the package. No? If, like for example, if the user would install an application downloaded from any platform, no? So that means the burden of protecting IT systems and data lies on internal information system security professionals. So, di ba, if you will install an application, it might contain an end user license agreement. O yung tinatawag na natin na license term agreement na napakahaba, na hindi na natin binabasa if we are going to install an application. Right? Sino ba namang magbabasa ng napakahaba na license terms agreement? Diba? So, we just simply click next, 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 install. Diba? So, yan ang kadalasan sa atin na ginagawa natin. Hindi natin binabasa yung license term agreement. Pero hindi natin alam na yung license term agreement ay siya yung nagproprotekta ng gumagawa ng application. Because it is on the user who installs the application or the IT security professional, it is up to them the security of their devices that is being installed, no? Or the host computer being installed by that application. In continuation of our lesson, I will show to you the recent data breaches in the United States since 2013 and 2015. So the past couple of years have seen a dramatic increase in the number of reported data breaches in the United States. Both the public sector and the private sector have fallen victim. What is shown here are lists summary of recent data breaches that affected the organization and the impact of data breach to that organization. Say for example, under organization, our first organization that is being attacked is the Adobe Systems Incorporated software subscription database. So their database are being attacked. So in a breach on October 3, 2013, Adobe announced that hackers had published data for 150 million accounts and had stolen encrypted customer credit card data. Login credentials were also compromised for an undetermined number of Adobe user accounts. Then the impact of data breach is the hackers stole 3 million credit card records and accessed 160,000 social security numbers. Adobe has offered a year's worth of credit monitoring to customers affected by the breach. So, tingnan nyo, grabe ka lala yung ginawa ng mga hackers, di ba? And next, meron tayong Anthem Incorporated Blue Cross Blue Shield Customer Database. So, mostly database yung inatake talaga, no? That was on February 4, 2015. Anthem disclosed that criminal hackers have broken into its servers and potentially stolen from its servers over 37.5 million records that contain personally identifiable information. How about the impact? Individuals whose data was stolen could have problems resulting from identity or from identity theft for the rest of their lives. So Anthem had a 100 million insurance policy covering cyber attacks from American International Group 1. In connection to the data breaches that is shown lately, our lesson is mainly focused on the information assurance and information security. But what is information assurance? As you can see, information assurance is the practice of assuring information and managing risks related to the use, processing, storage, and transmission of information. So either the transmission is wireless, wired, or any other means of transmission. The information assurance includes protection of the integrity of the data that is being stored in your storage devices or in the servers, its availability, authenticity, non-repudiation, and the confidentiality of it. Information assurance encompasses not only digital protections, but also the physical techniques. So these protections apply to data in transit, both the physical and electronic forms, as well as data at rest. So in other words, Information assurance is best thought as a superset of information security and as the business outcome of information risk management. Information system security. What is information system security? The term security is the easiest way to define by breaking it into pieces. An information system consists of the hardware, the operating system, and application software that work together to collect, process, and store data for individuals and organizations. Thus, the information security is the collection of activities that protect the information system and the data stored in it. So many US and international laws now require this kind of security assurance. Organizations must address this need of assurances and securities. Our next lesson is about the tenets of information systems security. So most people agree that private information should be secure. But what does secure information really mean? Information that is secure satisfies three main tenets or properties of information. If you can ensure these three tenets, you satisfy the requirements of secure information. So what are these three tenets? As you can see in the diagram, we have the confidentiality. What is confidentiality? It means that only authorized users can view the information. Integrity. Only authorized users can change the information. Only authorized users can edit or update the information. And the last one, we have the availability. The information is accessible by authorized users whenever they request the information. Some system security professionals refer to the tenets as the AIC triad. It is to avoid the confusion with the US Central Intelligence Agency, that is commonly known as the CIA. As we dig deeper to confidentiality, confidentiality is a common term. Now, it means guarding information from everyone except those with rights to it. So confidential information includes the following: the private data of individuals. It can be intellectual property of businesses, the national security for countries and governments, and the US compliance laws that protect citizens, private data that require business and organizations to have proper security controls to ensure confidentiality. So with the growth in e-commerce, more people are making online purchases with credit cards. So this requires people to enter private data into an e-commerce website. That is why consumers should be careful to protect their personal identity and private data. Then we have also laws that require organizations to use security controls to protect customers' private data. Say for example, if you are transacting an e-commerce website, so it is the responsibility of an e-commerce website. Like for example, the Shopee. No? Shopee is one example of an e-commerce website. So they are the one responsible of protecting your data or information that you provided to them. Alright? A security control is something an organization does to help reduce the risk in confidentiality. Next is we have the integrity. It is to maintain valid, uncorrupted, and accurate information. So when we say uncorrupted, accurate information, the data that is being stored, like for example an e-commerce website like Shopee, it should not be altered by those unauthorized users or person. Integrity deals with the validity and accuracy of data. So data lacking integrity, that is the data that are not accurate or not valid or they are of no use. For some organizations, data and information are intellectual property assets. Examples include copyrights, patents, secret formulas, and customer databases. This information can have great value. Unauthorized changes can undermine the data's value. So this is why integrity is a tenet of system security. In the figure, it shows what is meant by data integrity and whether that data are usable. Sabotage and corruption of data integrity are serious threats to an organization, especially if the data are critical to business operations. Right? The last, the availability. In the context of information security, it is the amount of time users can use a system, application, and the data. Availability is a common term in everyday life. For example, you probably pay attention to the availability of your internet service, your TV service, or cell phone services. In the context of information security, availability is generally expressed as the amount of time users can use a system, application, and the data. Here is the availability time measurements. We have the uptime. What is uptime? So uptime is the total amount of time that a system or application and data are accessible. So uptime is typically measured in units of seconds, minutes, and hours within a given calendar month. And it is often uptime is expressed as a percentage of time available. Okay, next we have the downtime. What is downtime? Downtime is the total amount of time that a system, application, and data are not accessible. Downtime is also measured in units of seconds, minutes, and hours for a calendar month. There are some instances that you cannot text or call using your mobile phones to other networks. One of the reasons is that it can be that there is a ginatawag na to ay backdown, or it can be network congestion. It can be that in that particular area there are too many users. Like for example, if there is a fiesta in Bayawan City, there are many people roaming around within the city. So thus, in result, the capacity of our access point or the cell site is not enough to cater the number of people around the city that is using their mobile phones. So that is why we might encounter some downtime. We should consider those text call attempts that we had, calls or text or call attempts that we do are considered as a query to the access point. So if there is a large number of queue in the access point, so that's the time that we might encounter some downtime. We have the availability. The availability is a mathematical calculation where total uptime divided by the total uptime plus total downtime. Don't worry about this formula because we might be encountering this in our next lessons. Okay? We will now proceed to the mean time to failure. Mean time to failure. It is the average amount of time between failures for a particular system. Semiconductors and electronics do not break and have an MTTF of many years. So physical parts such as connectors, cabling, fans, and power supplies have much lower MTTF, 5 years or less. So it can be 5 years or less. So given that wear and tear can break them. And we have also the mean time to repair. It is the average amount of time it takes to repair a system, application, or a component. The goal is to bring the system back up quickly. And we have the mean time failures. Mean time between failures. Mean time between failures, predicted amount of time between failures of an IT system during the operation. And we have the recovery time objective. It is the amount of time it takes to recover and make a system application. Data available for use after an outage. So business continuity plans typically define a recovery time objective for mission critical systems, applications, and data accesses.